I did a piece with the Institute of Physics in 2005 and got to talk to my own scientist. And then some of the big commissions I've done since then have been with science. We did Awakenings with Oliver Sacks, and then I've done 2 big pieces with Nicola Clayton. So it's been a continual theme, actually. Once you realise that what you do has some science built into it anyway, it seems that you can kind of build on that and develop it, and it leads to other ideas. So that's been very important for me. Actually, I studied painting at university, so there was something to do with chemicals and colour, and I did sensory perception, how you perceive things, and I did biology for a couple of years at university. So there was always that thing there. I just wasn't sure where it was going to go.
How exactly do you put together a dance incorporating kind of animal movement? How do you start working on that?
Well, generally speaking, it takes a long time, and it's to do with conversations. And then Nicky, in the 2 big pieces that we worked on, comes up with 3 big ideas, 3 big picture ideas that we could kind of hang everything on. When we worked with the Comedy of Change, we had the composer, we had the contemporary artist, we had the costume designer, there was myself, and in fact there was a journalist from The Guardian, all in the same room, the very first meeting. And Nicky talked us through some things, and it was amazing, because actually the binding thing between all those collaborators, if you like, was the science of it. Now, it could be that one of those might float off in a different direction, but actually as a sort of base note to the perfume, if you like, where we had something to hang on was these 3 things. And also with the piece which we've just opened, it was the same. Nicky came up with 3 big picture things that then we could hang on everything onto. Otherwise, it's such a huge subject. It was really, what's been great is that she narrowed the science down for us a bit, so we could go from there. And generally speaking, all the other collaborators fix on that as well. Of course, they have their own ideas of it, but this base notes help the whole lot develop.
It's amazing. Yeah, I just love it. And, you know, it's just grown and grown, really. I mean, to have the luxury of being able to be there full time over the summers and then know that I've got the whole of 2013 when I'm on sabbatical. And even though now with term starting, I'll be back based in Cambridge, I'm still going to Rambert quite a lot. In fact, I was looking in my diary and I think I'm going to be there 2 days a week, pretty much every week between now and up to Sadler's Wells in November, with various connections and meetings that have happened as a result of being based there. So it's really grown that we have these pieces and they're the focus, but there are various other things that are sort of shooting off as well. There's the book that Mark and I are doing. There's educational workshops through learning and participation. There's a project that we are going to do on dyslexia. There's these series of talks. We're doing something for Cambridge Science Festival. So there's just so much to keep us busy, and we're already been exploring, you know, the new pieces we're going to do in the future, and so there's just loads, really. But it is a long process, and it's not one you can rush. So I sort of think of it as very often we spend a lot of time just brainstorming and trying not to be prescriptive about what we want out of any particular meeting, and then it's like the ideas then suddenly go into this pot, and it needs time to cook or to distill and sort of see what emerges. It's not that either of us go in with an agenda, we've got an hour, and in that hour we've got to have done, because it doesn't work like that with ideas, does it? We've just got to let them sort of...
You've got to let them grow organically, I think. But we were talking about it before, because I use instinct a lot to work out what I don't think would be appropriate and what would be appropriate. And of course you want all the pieces to be completely different from each other. So you're looking at different ideas, different movement vocabulary, different music and different design. And I think where Nicky's been, I suppose, useful actually to me is to keeping those big ideas different from the previous project, if you like. So it works on that way. But what I've found fascinating is that Nicky, as a scientist, also uses instincts to devise her experiments. And that's what I'm doing when I devise my dance works.
And like with Mark, I think I know what won't work before I know what will work. So very often I'll come up with something and I think that's not going to work. No, that's not the way to do it.
Dancing to me is behaviour, learnt steps, learnt physicality, and it's that mix between what is behaviour and what is actual steps that you've learned. It all ends up being behaviour actually, and manners, if you like. So it fits in very well with, let's say, strutting. I can say strutting bird, or behaving like a cock, for instance, or some kind of display. So the terminology actually, there's a similarity in that. Some of the birds have to spend a long time developing their physical skills. It's strange that the birds of paradise spend about 8 years developing their dancing skills, and that's how long it usually takes for a dancer to develop. It's kind of like 8 years, 8 to 10 years, or a lifetime. I mean, the big commonality, I think, between being a choreographer and trying to develop new work all the time in science is the learning thing. Everybody's learning. Strangely enough, when people come to the performance, it's for their pleasure and enjoyment. But if they can learn a little something, it makes it really special. Remember that time I went to the performance and I just picked up this little thing. I hadn't kind of thought about it like that before. I hadn't seen that before. It gives it an edge that it may not have had before.
I mean, that's what makes it inspirational, I think.